Hello, I'm David DeCosmo, and our program is called At Your Service. Over my many years in television broadcasting, I've come to realize that whatever problem people have in our area, there are people, there are agencies, some private, some governmental, that are there to offer help. The whole idea of our program is to tell you about some of those programs that are available to help you. Gary Drapek joins us today, and Gary heads the United Way of Lackawanna and Wayne counties. And in this case, Gary, we have a number of help agencies that fall under one umbrella. And the umbrella is, of course, the United Way. Give us an idea, first of all, of how many agencies we're talking about to offer help in various ways.
Well, and thank you, David, for asking me to join you on this edition. We have well over 20, it is 21 agencies altogether in Lackawanna, Wayne, and Pike County. We are soon to be in Pike County, working with the people up there. And our agencies run the gamut of services that people are looking for. United Neighborhood Centers, for example, is an agency that we fund, and United Neighborhood Centers helps individuals, with emergency housing, emergency heat programs such as that. The ARC, which helps individuals who are physically challenged, mentally challenged, serving seniors of Lackawanna County, which does an ombudsman program and helps individuals, senior individuals look for services. So we have daycare centers that we fund. So it really runs the gamut. I always tell individuals if they're looking for help, if they need help, all they really have to do is pick up the phone and call 211. And that will put you through, to any service that's out there.
211 is an emergency type exchange?
Yes, 211, it's an interesting history with 211. It actually began on the West Coast, and it was with some of the flooding that was taking place. And individuals out there decided, hey, it's time that we get one number that we can call to get information. Well, the concept spread throughout the country. Now, anywhere in the country that you go, you can pick up the phone, and all you have to do is dial 211. Just those three numbers, 211. It's not an area code, it's not a phone number. And that will connect you with an individual counselor who could tell you what services are available in that particular community that you're in.
I remember the days when a telephone directory included a list of all the service organizations.
The blue pages.
Yes, and unfortunately, most people don't have one of those directories anymore, so they're looking for a place to turn to get help. Now, one of the things that we should talk about is that this funding, this help is generally available to most people free of charge. There are exceptions, of course. But yet, someone has to pay the piper eventually. And of course, here we come back to the idea of United Way because we think of United Way very often in terms of an annual fundraising drive that is held. How are funds allocated to these various agencies? Is it based on last year's show of need? How do you do it?
Well, and you're correct, David. The funding for the programs that we support here all come from individuals in the community who might give their $2, their $5, their $10 a week. And it also comes from some very generous foundations, high net worth individuals who've supported us for years. Our allocations, or how we distribute the funding, is, I think, one of the most unique processes of any nonprofit organization, because the individuals who contribute to the United Way are actually offered the opportunity to decide where that money goes through something called a Community Impact Council. The Community Impact Council meets usually during the winter months, then anywhere from January, February through, let's say April. And they meet with all of the agencies individually. They then look at the needs in the community. They look at the agency's budgets and in-depth look at the agency's budgets. They review the agency's audits, and then they determine where that money is distributed.
I see.
I don't do it. My staff doesn't do it. It's all done by volunteers, community volunteers from the community in which they live. For example, in Lackawanna County, it's all Lackawanna County volunteers. In Wayne County, it's all Wayne County volunteers.
Well, I want to get back to the funding issue eventually, but I think it's important to talk about some of the specific services that are available. Now, we chatted before we went on the air about just a couple, so let's begin with those.
Okay.
Help with taxes.
Let me just, if I can preface it, our United Way, I would say about 15 to 18 years ago, changed a little bit of our focus. At one point in time, United Way was known as, we raised funds in the fall and then we distributed them in the winter, and that was basically it. About 18 years ago or so, we became what I like to call more of a grassroots organization, where we as an organization started looking at gaps in services in the community and how can we as a United Way fill those gaps. And we started filling them internally. So in addition to the money that we distribute to other agencies, we also operate a number of programs right here out of our office. One of them, as you said, is our tax program, and it's called VITA, and it's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. We run that program usually from February 1st through April 12th, 13th, somewhere around there. And basically what the program does is it completes taxes for individuals free of charge, as long as your income is less than your household income is less than $66,000 a year. We schedule the appointment, you bring your tax forms in, we have certified volunteers that every year have to go through a training class through the IRS. They will complete your taxes, they will complete your state tax, your federal tax, and your local tax. And for seniors who are eligible, we'll do the rental rebates and it saves individuals in this area, in this region, like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a year in preparers' fees, as well as bringing in millions of dollars in the community through refunds from the IRS. It's a great program. We've been doing it now for over 15 years. And I have to say, it's one of our most popular programs.
This would be one type of program where someone could bring their information in and know that they have privacy with regard to protecting that information.
Well, one of the things, and I think I sometimes take it all for granted that everybody knows this, but one of the things that is sacrosanct with the United Way is anonymity and accountability.
I see.
And like nobody knows how much an individual gives to the United Way, for example. No one will ever know what your taxes are. This is all kept incredibly confidential because that's really the nature of our business. But every year with the tax programs, we average anywhere from 2,100 to 2,300 taxes returns that we do every year. We have volunteers from Penn State Scranton, students from Penn State Scranton that are trained. They're the majority of the group that does the taxes. We also have retired professors from Marywood University who help us out. We have, everyday individuals who are retired, who are looking for something to do. They get certified and they come and do this. It's probably one of the best programs I think that we took on 15 years ago. I don't see us ever getting rid of it. I think there would be a riot in the community if we did, because it is so popular.
Sure. Any other services provided right out of your United Way headquarters?
I think the other program that is very, the VITA program is pretty well known in the community. The one program I think that has little recognition is something called PA Medi. We started the PA Medi program right in the middle of COVID, and which was kind of interesting. Everything had shut down, everybody was quarantining, and we started this new program. Basically what PA Medi does is it's a free counseling service, and there is no income guideline. So you can come in making nothing or making $100,000 a year. And we provide free counseling for individuals who are entering the stage of Medicare. If you know anything about Medicare, as I have just recently learned, there are thousands of programs out there that you can get yourself involved into. There are drug programs that you have to get. There's Part A, there's Part B, there's Part F, G, H, And you look at this and say, you can't make anything heads or tails out of it. What the PA Medi program does is it sits down, it looks at what prescriptions you're on, what your finances are, what you're able to afford, and it will give you suggestions as to what parts of the plan you should take. I have to tell you, I went through the program. My wife went through the program. I think about 4 people here in the office went through the program, and many of our board members also went through the program. It's a great, great service for individuals.
What other kinds of services are available through your member agencies?
Through our member agencies, we, as I said earlier, we do a lot of what we're calling financial stability work. And financial stability work helps, like the VITA program, the tax program helps in the financial stability program. United Neighborhood Centers, for example, they do housing programs, they do emergency heat programs, emergency food programs. Many of our agencies do emergency shelter programs. We have Catholic Social Service, which is now working on an immigrant resettling program. That they've done that in the past. They kind of stopped it for a while, and now they're back doing it again, which is, as you can imagine, with the things that are going on in the world right now, is a pretty popular program. The ARC, for example, helps individuals with physical and mental challenges. The ARC has been around forever. They do a marvelous, marvelous program, and I would challenge anyone, if they really want to see United Way dollars at work, give a call up to the ARC and ask for a tour. St. Joe Center is another one of our agencies that we fund, the Mother-Infant Home of St. Joe's Center. So I mean, I can go down the list. There's 21 different agencies, and as I said, I would say over about 125 different programs.
And that 211 number would be the one to use.
And the 211 number is that's another thing that I think is not known enough in this region, and it will cover the entire region. The 211 office is technically out of Wilkes-Barre, but we all, ourselves and a number of other communities, kind of join together to support the 211 program. So if anyone is in need of emergency housing, if anyone is looking for information on food banks, if anyone is looking for emergency or information on employment opportunities, they can call 211 and they will be connected to the right people.
That's a number everyone should keep by their phone
without a doubt.
Remember.
And it's funny, 211 is also our what we use to make the appointments for our tax program. And when we have individuals calling here, we would say we'll call 211, and they would think that's the area code.
So you can coordinate.
No, it's just 211.
Sure.
It's simply 211. One of the one of the programs, I think our newest program here at United Way is a program to address older adult isolation within our region. We've done some studies in the past, and there are more isolated adults in this region than I think anybody. It's almost like the silent problem.
Well, you have a heavy senior population, and a lot of those then, of course, are individuals.
Right, and it's one of the largest per capita in the country as seniors go. And we were finding out that a lot of these seniors are by themselves, sitting at home, watching TV, doing virtually nothing. And studies are now coming out showing that isolation, especially in seniors, from a health perspective, isolated seniors have a higher chance of cancer. They have a higher chance of heart-related issues. In fact, there's one study that said that being an isolated senior is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Oh, my word.
And the impact on your health. So this program, together with the Moses Taylor Foundation and a few other foundations in the area, is looking at ways that we can get seniors more involved and active in the community. We have a group of individuals who we call trained navigators, and they're senior citizens themselves, or older adults, that through medical referrals that we're receiving now from the Wright Center and from Scranton Primary Health and Jewish Community Center, we are calling these individuals on the phone and saying, would you like to come out and see the Oppenheim Center of UNC, and there's arts and crafts, and there's activities going on, and there's yoga and all that stuff. And the program is extremely successful. It's really taken off. In fact, our director of that program has been invited to speak at a national conference.
So you're looking for ways to take these individuals, these senior individuals, and get them involved with things.
Exactly, and it's a twofold purpose, because it not only helps, in many cases, the seniors are getting involved in volunteer activities. So we have a program here through our education program where we've married seniors with some young people who are having reading difficulties. So we have a group of seniors who are actually going into the elementary schools, and they're doing a one-on-one with a student who may have a problem with reading. We're now thankfully back into the schools. There was a period of time we had to take a hiatus due to COVID, but prior to that, the success of that program was just incredible, and the educators were coming back to us all saying that the students were improving immensely.
So the seniors not only get involved, they become an asset to the community.
Right, they become an asset to the community. They become attached and very close to the kids that they're working with. In this case, in this particular case, we have individuals here that are, they would call at a moment's notice, or we would call them at a moment's notice. We need envelopes stuffed, or we need something going on, and they would come in here, and it's just the socialization of getting everybody together that helps.
United Neighborhood Centers is one of your member agencies.
Correct.
Do they run the senior centers?
They run some of the senior centers are kind of run by different agencies. They run some of the senior centers. The Jewish Community Center runs some of the senior centers.
I think people would be surprised at the number of senior citizens that are aware that there are senior citizen centers, but have never been to one.
Right.
Can you give us an idea of the kind of services one might find there?
Sure. First, what I'd like to do is first dispel a lot of the falsehoods that are out there. I think in the old days, senior citizen centers used to be, the place where you would go and play bingo and, maybe play cards, and then you go home. The Senior Citizen Center of today, which are now called older adults.
Active older adults, I believe,
that's it, are vastly different. There are a lot of learning opportunities. There are educational programs that go on at these centers. There's also exercise programs, and it's yoga and Tai Chi that are taking place that anyone can get involved in. The Oppenheim Center, which is over in the Bellevue area, or not Bellevue, but the Mother Cabrini area of Scranton, also has a photography studio. They have an art studio. They have a music studio. So seniors who are so inclined could get involved in working them. So it's a vastly different, and also the Senior Center also serves as a conduit for other programs or services that may be available for the seniors. For example, our older adult isolation program is very much married to the senior centers for that reason. Seniors can go there and learn about the tax programs. They can learn about the PA Medi programs. So it also serves as an educational hub.
So really one hand works with the other in this case to make sure that this information is dispensed. But again, for those who haven't been to any of the centers, this is something you want to look into as a possible place to find services that might be valuable to you. Now, I said earlier, and I want to get back to the funding issue for one reason. We are in an era where our telephones are ringing constantly. They're telemarketers, and some represent themselves as being from an official agency. Some are total scams. Others are semi-legit in terms of they're trying to get to you to buy something that may very well be of service. So how do we know that when we're giving to United Way to support all these various agencies that are members, how do we know that that money is going where it ought to go?
I always tell individuals, if they get the phone call, the first question I ask of someone is my money staying local? Is it going to stay in my community? Yes or no? What is the percentage of fundraising costs versus how much money is going to the exact program, to the service? What I have found an awful lot of times, the first question, of course, they'll say, well, yeah, we're going to try to keep it as local as possible. The second question, when you ask them how much of a percentage, is usually the one where they start becoming evasive. And when they get me on the phone, without a doubt, every single time they end up hanging up on me. and you kind of have a pretty good idea that the organization is not on the up and up.
Yeah. Are needs growing throughout this area, or they've been fairly stable?
I think what happened is to answer the question bluntly, yes, they're growing. And they're growing because, and I'm looking at more of a senior population. Our older adult population is on the rise. We have been experiencing for a while an outward migration of younger individuals. Luckily, we see a lot of them coming back now, which is kind of a good thing. You know yourself. You've gone to the grocery store. I mean, you've put fuel in your car. You've paid for household oil. Prices are on the rise, but yet charitable donations are steady or declining. So it is a lot tougher for nonprofit agencies out there to keep the lights on in the morning, and it's a lot tougher out there to kind of connect the services to the needs of individuals. We do the best possible job that we can, but we're not miracle workers.
I think the bottom line is the idea that you have services available, and one looking for help of any kind ought to check out what is available. The telephone number, the 211, is certainly the first place to begin, I suppose, Gary. But are you fairly optimistic about the growth of the programs, and they're addressing vital needs in the area?
And again, I don't want to sound too Pollyanna. We live in an incredible region, and I think sometimes we take that for granted. And I will tell you, for example, when COVID first kind of started knocking on our doors and everything was shutting down and all that, I was turning a little pessimistic as to where we were going to go. We got through COVID absolutely fine because individuals in the community came forward and said, I know you're going to need extra help. What do you need? How can we help you? We had volunteers coming in that we never had before, delivering meals to homebound seniors. We had financial donations coming in from individuals who never gave before because they knew, A, that we would put the money to good use, and B, that the need was out there. So I am optimistic that as we move forward, and one of the things I can't, I'd be remiss without saying, the other advantage we have is that the agencies in this area all work together. They all collaborate on projects. There is none of this, oh, that's not my job syndrome, or I'm not going to get involved in that. We all pull together when we have to pull together.
So even if they're not a member agency, there's a cooperative effort.
Oh, without a doubt. One of our closest partners is the Area Agency on Aging, which isn't United Way. That's a state and federally funded organization, but we still work incredibly close with them. We're lucky in Lackawanna County and in Wayne County to work with the political entities that are out there and the services that they provide as well. So we do live in a great area. We live in a great region. So I am optimistic that everything's we're gonna work out okay.
Well, I have one final category I'd like to ask about, because we're talking about services that are available to people throughout our area and how to find those services. You've outlined many of the services, and you have said on numerous answers, you've used the term volunteers. So I must ask you, how important are volunteers? Can you use more volunteers? What kind of field? This is, in a sense, where you're looking for service.
Right. I think one of the, I don't want to call it a fallacy, but maybe it is, that when I talk about people supporting the United Way, they think it's immediately they're writing a check. And a lot of times that is true. But even more times, the volunteer support that we get. We can always use volunteers. Our agencies can always use volunteers. There are more needs out there that don't necessarily have to be met with a check, that they can be met with a little bit of hard work and elbow grease. So anyone who is looking, has some spare time, they want to volunteer. And the realm runs the gamut. As I said, we have individuals in here who stuff envelopes. We also have individuals who do taxes. We also have individuals who do Medicare counseling. And as I mentioned earlier, we have individuals who go into the classroom and read to kids. Yeah. So whatever you think, if you don't think you're talented enough, call us, we'll find your talent.
Gary Drapek of United Way, thank you so much for joining us on our program. I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping people will take advantage of the services available here. For At Your Service, I'm David DeCosmo, Electric City Television, and I hope all your news is good.